Every time you send a text, every time you book a flight online, every time your bank processes a payment, you're using a system built on the mind of a woman the world forgot. Her name was Grace Hopper. In 1944, she walked into a room full of men in military uniforms and changed the course of history. She wrote the first computer program. She invented the first compiler, the bridge between human language and machines. She coined the word debugging after pulling a moth from a computer in 1947. But for decades, textbooks credited men. Colleagues called her just a coder. Reporters wrote, Admiral Hopper, the Navy's quirky grandma. She died in 1992, honored but still erased from the story of the digital age. This is the story of the woman who built the future and was told to go back to the kitchen. Grace Brewster Murray was born in 1906 in New York City, a time when women were expected to marry, raise children, and stay home. But Grace had other plans. At age 7, she took apart all the alarm clocks in the house, just to see how they worked. Her mother, unusually supportive, said, "Don't take apart more than 7 at once, or we'll never get them back together." She studied mathematics at Vassar College, one of only a few women in her class, earned a master's at Yale, became a professor, but academia wasn't enough. She wanted to solve real problems. In 1943, during World War II, she made a radical decision. She joined the U.S. Navy. At 37, she was older than most recruits. She was told, women don't belong in uniform. But she persisted. She was assigned to Harvard to work on the Mark I, one of the world's first computers. It weighed 10,000 pounds. It filled an entire room, and it was seen as nothing more than a giant calculator. But Grace saw something else. She saw a mind waiting to be taught. Back then, programming meant writing in machine code, endless strings of ones and zeros. One mistake, and the whole system crashed. It took weeks to write a simple program. Grace thought, why should humans speak the computer's language? Why not teach the computer to understand ours? In 1951, she did the impossible. She created the first compiler, a program that translated English-like commands into machine code. She called it a zero. Her bosses didn't believe her. They said, computers can't understand English. It's not logical. But she proved them wrong. Then came Flowmatic, then COBOL, a language so simple even bankers could use it. By 1960, 90% of all business data in America was processed in COBOL. Airlines, banks, Social Security, all ran on her code. Yet when journalists wrote about the future of computing, they quoted men like IBM executives. Never her. Grace didn't just code, she fought. She traveled the country, giving lectures in her Navy uniform, telling engineers the most dangerous phrase in the language is, "We've always done it this way." She rose through the ranks, becoming one of the few female rear admirals in U.S. history. But even in uniform, she was underestimated. At conferences, men would ask, "Are you the secretary?" She'd smile and say, "No, I'm the one who told your computer what to do." In 1967, the Navy tried to retire her at 60. She refused. She kept working, well into her 70s. She became known as Amazing Grace, but the nickname often masked the depth of her genius. Meanwhile, men like John Backus, Fortran, and Dennis Ritchie, &C, became legends. Grace, mentioned in footnotes. When she died in 1992, She was buried with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery. The Navy named a destroyer after her, USS Hopper. Google honored her with a doodle. But in classrooms, in documentaries, in the public imagination, she remained a footnote. Today, COBOL still runs 90% of the world's financial transactions. Every time you withdraw cash, fly a plane, or file taxes, you're using her legacy. Yet ask a student, who invented programming? And they'll name a man. Why? Because history remembers charisma, not quiet competence. It celebrates founders, not builders. And it forgets women, especially those who wore uniforms instead of suits. So next time you tap your phone, or send an email, or trust a system to handle your life's data, remember the woman who made it possible. Remember Grace Hopper, the mathematician, the sailor, the rebel, the woman who believed machines should serve people and spent her life making it so, because history forgets the quiet ones. But we don't have to. If this story moved you, share it, so her name lives on.